Hello, Peaceful Profits Nation. I'm your host, Chanel Nielsen. Welcome to the podcast. Today, we are talking to Alex Moore. Alex, welcome.
Hello. Thank you, Chanel.
Yeah, Alex, we are going to talk today about offers. And this is something that people have requested that they want to know more about, that they're really curious. And I think there's this desire to learn how to create a better offer because people hear Mike talk about it a lot. They know it's so important in the business. And they want to really get into, well, how do I do it in my own business? So that's what we're going to dive into. But before we start that, we'd love to know a little bit more about you. Let's start off with a brief introduction. Tell us who you are and then what you do here at Peaceful Profits.
Okay, cool. So my name is Alex, and I'm the Done For You strategist at Peaceful Profits, which basically just means I help clients figure out the best way to integrate their offers into the funnel, whether that's their back-end offers or their kind of front-end low-ticket offers, whether that's a book or a mini course. I just kind of figure out, okay, you're the expert here. How can we break that expertise into a series of offers and then put those offers into a funnel that people would want to buy and learn from and get great results from? So that's basically what I do. I deal with offers pretty much every week.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome. All right. And tell us a little bit more about you, what you do, what you like, where you live, anything just to get to know you a little bit.
Well, my name is Alex, first of all. I guess I already said that. But so I live in London. I'm in the UK. And I think a lot of the Peaceful Profits team, they're kind of spread about. A lot of us are in the US, some of us are here in the UK. But I live in the UK. I live in London. And you and I were just speaking a little bit before this episode about London, and I just love it as a place to live. It's incredible, not just to meet people, but it's such an international city. Like the food scene, oh my goodness, the food scene. I think there's a kind of general like consensus among people that like English food and food from the UK is quite bland and not very nice. And I can see where people get that idea because there's a lot of like pies and just like meat and stews and stuff. But also London itself is just so diverse and multicultural that like you can get pretty much any food here. And that's what I really love about it. Is just like it's such a multicultural city, and as someone especially like me, I quite enjoy learning languages, so it gives me a chance to be able to like practice and learn new languages and meet people from different places. So I really love it.
That's so cool. Okay. Well, you've made us all want to go to London for sure. So let's go ahead and talk then. Mike mentioned in a recent episode that over 90% of offers need to be fixed in some way. And that just means what we're talking about today is relevant and important for everyone, whether they have their offer complete or not. There's almost always room for improvement. Now, you mentioned earlier, you're looking at offers every single week. So when you look at someone's offer, what are some of the elements you're looking for that make it a successful offer?
That's a good question. And I think it's first important to say that I think when you said that a second ago, like some offers, 90% of offers need to be fixed in some way. I think a lot of people would hear that and be like, oh no, my offer is broken and it won't sell and all this kind of stuff. And it's not actually the case. Like most, in fact, I would say any offer is never actually complete or perfect. I mean, Mike says it himself, your offer is always a work in progress. And it's quite, it'll probably be the case that you're creating an offer right now and you're even delivering that offer if you're at that point where you're selling it consistently, and that offer might look quite different 6 months down the line. And I think that's something that can hold a lot of people up in this offer creation process, especially when they're towards the beginning, is they're like, I need to create something that is going to be perfect and right straight from the beginning. And if it isn't perfect and right, then I can't take it to market and it's not going to sell and all this kind of stuff. And that's just not the case. Your offer is always a work in progress. Your offer, will almost certainly go through tweaks over time. And even if you have an offer that's selling right now and you're happy with it and your clients are happy with it, that's not to say that, it won't need some tweaking. So I think that's also an important point to realize, because I think a lot of people can get hung up on that idea of, oh no, I need to create the perfect offer. And it's not the case. But when I'm looking at someone's offer and kind of how it's compelling, and this goes both for back-end offers as well as front-end offers. So whether you've got like a book or whether you have your back-end offer that you're trying to refine, one of the main things I look at first is the outcome, right? Because I think a lot of people, when they're creating an offer, they maybe feel a little bit scared or nervous about putting a specific outcome on there. For example, if you have some kind of marketing offer or a business growth offer, you might want to say, what usually happens is you have an offer that's like, I'll help you grow your business using Facebook ads. And it's not a terrible offer, but it's not a very good offer either, because it's not really specific. It's the same thing that everyone else is saying, and there's no real outcome there. The growing your business with Facebook ads is very nebulous, right? And often one of the best ways to actually improve an offer is just to simply tighten up the outcome, make it more specific. And that really comes down to thinking about the kind of client you're working with. And that's also the reason that I like the way Peaceful Profits kind of recommends putting together offers, and the way Mike recommends putting together offers, because it's very client focused, right? And when you're struggling, okay, thinking about like, okay, what kind of outcome should I be promising in my offer? How can I get specific with it? A lot of the times it starts with your client, right? So in thinking about your client and thinking about what specifically they struggle with, because, I will grow your business with Facebook ads. That could be applicable to anyone. But the person who is just getting started and is maybe at the 6-figure mark with their business, growing their business will mean something completely different to them, as opposed to someone who is at the 7 or 8-figure mark and is looking to really scale their business, expand their operations. And so that's kind of the point where you will need to really think about your clients, what they're looking for, and that will allow you to get specific in terms of the outcomes that you're promising. So to kind of circle back through this, my long rambling there, back to the first question is, when I'm looking at an offer and what to improve, that's often the first thing that I'll look at is how specific is this outcome? How really irresistible is this outcome? Is this something that I read and it excites me? Because often that's the biggest source of whether this is going to be a good offer, is when you read this outcome, does it excite you, or does it almost like tire you out trying to read it and trying to understand it? So
okay, there's a lot in there that I want to unpack, because I think that in my role at Peaceful Profits, I'm seeing these offers before they come to you and get refined. And I think that this idea of specificity is so hard for people. They know it, they hear it, and they're like, yes, okay, I want to be specific, but maybe it's the fear, they're scared, like you mentioned, or it's something that just makes it really hard to get specific. So you mentioned one clue to how to get specific is think of the who you're working with. Any other thoughts on how to drill down and get to that level of specificity that's really needed to create a good offer?
I think the simple answer is just, to have conversations with potential clients, because I think as well, when you're thinking about that specificity piece and what outcome would my client want, I think a lot of people have this tendency to guess, or they think they need to guess, right? And that's just not true. And often that's the hardest way of doing it, because it's almost like throwing a dart at a dartboard and just kind of throwing it until you hit the bullseye. So the best way to often find out what outcome people would want is just to chat to your ideal clients. Like, even if it's you're not selling them anything, even if it's purely like, hey, I'd love to pick your brains. Can we hop on a call for 15 minutes and I'll just talk to you and kind of interview you and ask you some questions. And often it's through those conversations that you'll start to get a series of answers, and you'll be able to kind of you'll be able to find a theme that kind of connects all those answers. And usually that's the best way of finding, how, not just how specific you need to be with your outcome, but your outcome in general. And it's something that, extends even further than offers. It expands into messaging. It's just, I think we often have this tendency when it comes to offers, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to anything, is to just guess, when actually the most accurate thing to do is just to get it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and then work that into your kind of work backwards, I guess. Don't try and guess, just work straight from the client and steal their words and put it into your marketing, put it into your offer.
That's really good. Really such a good point that's going to get exactly the offer that people are looking for. So I love that you brought that out. Now, let's talk a little bit about what things people are commonly missing in their offers. Talk to us about that.
So this is an interesting one, because I think it's like pretty much on a weekly basis, it's becoming more and more relevant. And the reason I say that is because Like it's never been easier to start a business, and it's never been easier to like put together these offers and just take them to market. You know, like with Facebook ads, with email lists, it's so easy to set up an offer like this and take it to market. And that's an awesome thing, but it's also a difficult thing because it has lowered the barrier to entry, right? So many more people are able to do it. What that means is it's so much more. I wouldn't say it's harder to stand out, but that's more a symptom of the fact that there's just so many offers. There are so many offers out there, and offers that are similar to yours. So when I'm looking, and when I say yours, I don't mean yours, Chanel, but I mean yours
Yes.
in a general sense.
Got it.
But
Yours, the listener, right?
yeah, exactly,
Yes.
exactly. And so often what's missing from an offer, even if you have a really awesome outcome, is the actual mechanism, right? The thing that you're going to use to achieve that. Um, because especially if you think about, let's take an example like the one book millions method, right? So that the market that we're in and the Peaceful Profits is in is like quite a crowded market, right? You've probably, I mean, for the listener and everything, you've probably seen a ton of different ads from people, from coaches, service providers, all these different people saying, "Hey, I'm going to help you grow your business," right? So that is a promise that a lot of people have made already. So even if we get really, really specific with the outcome, which in terms of Peaceful Profits is, I'm going to help you build a 7-figure business through simpler marketing. Even that simpler marketing piece, there's still other people out there that could claim that piece of like, hey, even if it's like a webinar, right? And they've somehow figured out a way to they've got their own little process for making it, webinar super easy, for streamlining the process, all that stuff. They could really, also claim that title of simpler marketing. But what kind of sets us apart is like, hey, we're going to use a book to help you build a 7-figure business. So when it comes to things that are commonly missing from people's offers, a lot of the time I find it's that mechanism, right? So that thing that you're doing that makes achieving that outcome different, right? So people could be promising the same outcome as you, doing 100 different ways, but what's like your secret sauce for doing that? Even if you're doing the thing the same way, like someone else could probably be promoting, a book to grow business out there, but they probably also have their own way of doing it, right? They probably have their own way of writing a book, similar to the way we have our own way of writing our book at Peaceful Profits, and the way we build funnels. And so I think that's that kind of to create an offshoot of that argument as well. And I'll round this off because I realize I'm starting to ramble again a bit. But basically, I think as well, in the sense that sometimes things are missing from your offer, in the sense of you need a mechanism to show how your offer is different. I think people are scared that like, oh, I need to reinvent the wheel and put something into my offer that no one's ever seen before, without realizing that like the way that they're doing things already is probably a different enough way, a different enough mechanism that would help to attract their ideal client. Because even if you're not cognizant of it, everyone has their own little way of doing things, and the reason that they do this as opposed to that when they're trying to use a book to grow a business or anything like that. And so when you're thinking about your unique mechanism and your proprietary framework, like you probably already have your proprietary framework. You just need to take a step back and look at exactly what you're doing and figure out what kind of makes that your secret sauce as opposed to someone else's.
Yeah. Okay. This is another one where I think that people can hear it and yet need to hear it over and over again, because it's one of those things that sounds like, oh, yes, definitely a unique mechanism. And then you sit there like, wait, what is my unique mechanism? How do I put this into practice in my own offer? So can you give us some examples? I would love some examples in maybe some different niches that help kind of bring it home. Like, how does this unique mechanism play out in different industries?
So, I think a good example, actually, that I can that comes to mind is a guy by the name of I think his name is John Buchan, Buchan, and he has a thing called the Charm Offensive. And his thing at the end of the day is, I will help you grow your business through cold outreach. So that in and of itself isn't a new concept, right? And there are plenty of people out there teaching people how to do that through cold outreach. But his thing, the thing that he kind of discovered about himself, was that he's actually good at just kind of chatting gibberish and being quite funny and being quite humorous. And so he just found a way to, work that into his messages. And so his thing is the Charm Offensive, and it's simply, you do cold outreach to people, whether that's through email or Instagram or wherever. But as long as you include a bit of humor and personality in those messages, then you can actually stand out in the inbox, and you get responses from people. You get responses from clients that you really want to work with because they kind of vibe with your message and your humor. So even something like that, it's like it doesn't even need to be like this new method of marketing that you need to like completely subvert the world of marketing or subvert the world of relationships or anything like that. It could literally be just this kind of personal belief that you bring to the table, or this personal kind of unique skill that makes it so that your offer is a little bit different, and it kind of plays to your strengths. I think that's the biggest thing, is play to your strengths. And I don't even necessarily just mean the skills and the expertise that you have, but also from a personality standpoint and the more like soft skills that you have. All of those things are going to influence your offer in some way. And it's just about being able to kind of take a step back a little bit and analyze, I guess, yourself in that way, and how that connects with your offer, and how that would help you eke out your proprietary framework and your unique mechanism.
That is such a good example. I'm so glad you brought one, that's like that shows how who you are can play into your offer. Because I think that is a piece that we often miss, that like the business owner matters, who you are matters. And that's going to come across. One interesting thing here at Peaceful Profits is not everyone, but a lot of people that come our way are a little bit introverted. And I think that's so interesting because Mike is that way. We don't see him on camera, right? He's not putting his face out there or dancing on TikTok. And that is a little part of the offer. It plays through, even though maybe we're not consciously recognizing that, but it's part of the messaging. It's part of the whole package. And so, like you mentioned, just with humor, using that, recognizing that skill, recognizing your personality and who you are, and then using that as your mechanism is a really powerful thing to do. So that's a cool example.
And it's interesting as well, because I think, one of the questions that I sometimes ask people when I'm looking at their offer is, do you even want to do this offer? Like, is this something that excites you? Because, ultimately, like, you could try and create this offer that's like super incredible, irresistible, has all the bells and whistles. But if you're like bored by it yourself, and that comes across when you're on these sales conversations, like people are going to pick up on that vibe, and they're not going to want to buy. Right. So there's almost this like intangible, I don't even know what to call it, like an intangible vibe that happens on the sales call when you're talking to someone about an offer that you really believe in, that you really enjoy delivering, and that is incredibly valuable and kind of intersects with the thing that you're really good at and you really enjoy. And that kind of intangible sense, like, people feel it when you're on the sales call and you get excited talking about what you want to do, right? And I think so much of that can be kind of overlooked if you're trying to create this offer that's supposed to tick all these boxes about being super irresistible. But one of the most important boxes is, do you actually enjoy this? Do you enjoy doing this? Especially when you think about how that fits in terms of an acquisition funnel, because an offer that you don't enjoy now isn't going to get easier the more your business scales, because you're going to be doing more of it. You're going to be dealing with more of the same problems, bigger problems with that offer. So that desire, if you don't have a desire to deliver your offer, if you don't have an interest in it, that's not going to go away magically when money starts coming in. It's only going to compound. So I think that's one of the biggest questions to ask at the beginning, is like, do I actually see myself delivering this offer? Do I enjoy this offer? Do I have an interest in it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for bringing that out. Now, let's talk. You mentioned earlier that an important piece of the offer is actually who you're offering it to. And I want to talk a little bit more specifically about the ideal client. So, what role does the ideal client play in someone's offer?
So that's a good point to bring up, because one of the things that I personally myself learned from Mike very early on was this concept of, you're only as good as the client allows you to be, right? So you could have a fantastic offer. You could have all the right systems. You could have all the right experts and team and everything to help you deliver that offer. But if the client themselves doesn't have the infrastructure to be able to actually capitalize on that offer, then it won't be a good offer. Ultimately, you won't be able to get great results for the client with it, and the client isn't going to be happy with your results. They're going to blame it on you. It's not, it's going to be a whole mess. And I think, one of the like one of the things that you can kind of sometimes see, and it's perhaps a really good example of this, is like if you were, say, a marketing agency, and you were delivering, like you created this campaign, right, to sell to get clients for this agency. But if they didn't have like a sales team or sales process on the back end to be able to convert those, and you're delivering them all those leads, then that's something that it's not going to work for the offer in the way that you thought it might. You're not going to get the results that you thought you might. And so that's also one of the things when you're thinking about your dream client. I think it's easy to say like, okay, well, I'm only as good as the client allows me to be. So therefore, if the client isn't good, it wasn't my fault. But I would encourage people to steer away from that and take accountability in kind of their role that they play in prospecting. And what I love about Peaceful Profits, again, is the way that there has this, this discovery process that takes place, so that you actually filter out the clients that are the right fit for you. Because the last thing that you want to be, involved in is a client where you're like, yeah, of course we can get results for you, and they turn out not to be the right client. They turn out to be a client that doesn't have the kind of conditions for you to deliver, and then no one ends up happy in the end. So that's one of the key pieces in kind of that client relationship, is that you are only as good as the client allows you to be. And that's why it's so important to paint a really clear picture of who you want to let into your business, but also who you don't want to let into your business. Putting these filters in place that mean that if the client isn't the right fit, then they can't continue to work with you on your high ticket offers.
So is it just a matter then of deciding who you want in your business, or is there more research that goes into, like, how do you decide your dream buyer? Is it something that comes internally, or is it more external?
It comes in two parts, both parts actually, internal and external. I think the more external factors are the ones that are perhaps a little bit more quote unquote mechanical or rigid. So again, to kind of think about the marketing and sales example, you might say, okay, well, we're only going to allow clients to work with us if they have an annual, revenue of $100,000 or more. And that's something a little bit more mechanical. It's quite rigid. It's very easy to test against. But there's also something which I think is a bit more internal, and that really comes from the personality side of things and how you actually gel with the client. And there might be kind of people that when you're talking to them on the sales call, you kind of get these red flags that actually this might not be such a nice person to work with, or there's something they said that probably, indicates that they might not be the right fit for this offer. And there's that kind of personality side of things. Like at the end of the day, service-based businesses are all about people. You're going to be dealing with clients, right? So it's important that the people, and in some cases, you're going to be dealing with these clients more than you deal with, you talk to your friends or maybe your spouse or anything like that, right? So it's important that also that more like human piece is right there too, that it's not just they're the right fit because they have enough money or their business is the right size or anything like that. But they're also the right fit in terms of how they fit in with the company culture, even if that company culture is literally just you at this minute and you're going to be the one working with the client. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. I love that both parts kind of play into who these clients need to be in your business. Now, one of the things that Peaceful Profits emphasizes is the importance of having high ticket offers. So let's start from the beginning. What makes something a high ticket offer, both monetarily, and then what elements need to be in there to make it worth that amount of money?
So in terms of monetary values, it's a little bit, the lines are a little bit blurred, because for some people, one thing could be considered very high ticket, whereas another thing might not be. An example is things like generally in kind of harder offers, with harder offers, things that are in like the make money space, and to kind of give a definition as to what hard and soft offers are. I think that would be good to kind of clarify before moving forward. Hard offers are things like that are very measurable, where the results are very measurable. Either like, I'm going to help you lose 15 pounds, or I'm going to help the business generate $100,000 in revenue. Things that are very objective, and easy to track. Well, not always easy to track, because sometimes they're not always the easiest to track, but they all very often have this kind of like number attached to them. Whereas soft offers, they're a little bit harder to measure, and typically those are offers that are to do with things like emotions or relationships, those kind of things, which are harder to quantify in numbers, and we usually just kind of use words to describe those outcomes. Now, in industries where there tend to be a lot of harder offers, right? So things like marketing, make money online, all that kind of stuff. The price points tend to be a little bit, I would say, higher. And so what would be considered high ticket there kind of varies a little bit. Some people wouldn't even consider it high ticket unless it's, above $3,000. Whereas some people, like if you're in an industry where it typically deals with softer offers and people perhaps aren't used to paying so much, say they're not a business that you're dealing with, but it's an actual person and it's an offer to do with relationships, and it's someone who perhaps hasn't paid that much for this kind of service in their life. Well, for them, maybe $1,000 or $2,000 is high ticket, because for them it's quite a big investment. So it's kind of like a bit of a scale as to what you would consider high ticket, and how the appetite that your clients have and the industry that you're working in, that kind of plays into what equals high ticket. But I believe with the program and the Peaceful Profits program, we consider high ticket anything from kind of $3,000 upwards. So from a monetary value, that's kind of where high ticket sits. But I think the difference between something like low ticket and high ticket, not just from obviously the price difference, but also is the actual results that you're going to generate, right? So typically with a high ticket product, you want to generate incredibly valuable results, and often the results are a lot more guaranteed, right? So if you buy a book that says, I'm going to help you build $1 million business, like there'll probably be stuff in there that's really helpful, but it's not necessarily guaranteed that you're going to do that, because there's still a lot of onus on you to actually carry out what's in the book. Whereas with a high ticket offer, there'll typically be elements where it's kind of either done for you or done with you, which if they don't help to guarantee the results in themselves, they help to make the results more guaranteed. They help to increase the likelihood of those results. And typically those results are ones that will pay for themselves many times over. So I believe I heard Mike once say that he won't even consider selling an offer, something along these lines. He won't even consider selling an offer unless the price point, the revenue generated or the actual business growth created is at least 10 times what the client is paying for it. So if it's a $10,000 offer, he wants to create at least $100,000 in value for the business or for the client. So that's kind of really what separates the high ticket offer from low ticket offer in terms of not just price, but also the outcomes that you're providing and the likelihood of those outcomes coming to pass. So
awesome. That's so good. Thank you for spelling that out. I think that really clarified a lot of different points. We've covered so many good things today. I love all of what we've dived into about offers. To finish out, I would love to just hear any final takeaways, what you hope that listeners will take away from this episode, specifically about their offers.
Honestly, I would just take it right back to what we said towards the beginning. And I think there's a lot of pressure to feel like you need to get your offer right straight from the beginning, and it needs to be perfect and it needs to tick all the boxes. And the reality is it's not true. Your offer is always going to be a work in progress. And everything that you really do in the offer creation process, until you're on that phone call with someone and they say, yep, I'm going to buy, and they give you their credit card details, everything up until that point is just theory, right? So until you have those conversations, that's when you'll actually get the most valuable, accurate feedback about your offer, which is why I'm such a big proponent of actually just having those conversations, imperfect action, right? So getting out there, even if you know that maybe things aren't perfect, that there's still some tweaks to make. People are also a lot more forgiving than we give them credit for. I think a lot of people think, well, if I don't have a ton of experience in doing this, I only quote unquote have 5 years experience in my field. How am I going to turn this into an offer that people are going to pay me $3,000, $5,000 for? And I think if you're upfront about that, people are usually a lot more understanding. Like, hey, although this offer is new, the experience and the expertise that I bring to the table in this industry and with this this particular result is not new. And I can help you guide, I can guide you through that process. And I think people, if you're upfront about that aspect of, this is a new offer, but you're not new to the industry yourself, and you have this knowledge, and especially that piece where you're enthusiastic about your offer, then that really can be felt by the clients, and it's something that they're often quite understanding about. So basically, the whole idea of high ticket offer creation is a lot more scary than it sounds. That's what I would say.
Okay. I love it. That means, listeners, that you can go out there, you can do it, create your offer. Don't live in fear. It's a work in progress. Alex, thank you for being with us. I think you've taught us a lot of really actionable content that people can go and put into practice in their business. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for being here, and we'll see you next time.